What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday night to you. You are watching Off Centered with Dustin, the personal finance dad, the personal grazing cow, the guy that started a second station regarding video games and then quit after like 3 episodes. And then we're also bringing on Jeremy of Sports Cards Live, someone that is highly liked and highly respectable in the hobby. Y'all know his show, Sports Cards Live. Great podcast, great YouTube station, and I would say has some of the best guests out there of any content creator. So it's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about cards, sports, and of course, just joking around, making fun of Dustin most of the second half of the show. So welcome back. Now let's get to work. Let's bring on the usual guest, the one that I'm obligated to do this with.
Hello. Dustin. Sorry, I'm just still beaming from that Saints victory on Sunday.
You know what's interesting about that is I didn't watch the game. I couldn't because I was actually at the Chargers game because I had tickets there. I got like a free. My friends that are leaving town gave me a free ticket to the box. So this was my first time in a suite. So
yeah, I saw the pic on social media, and I'm like, well, I know that Brad didn't buy a box seat. I know that he got a free one.
Yeah. I don't know what that cost. I heard that a suite at SoFi Stadium, it cost the guy $100,000 a year. And I don't know if that's normal for other stadiums, but I was like, that's a lot of money. That's legit. But SoFi Stadium is really gorgeous. I don't know what happened with the Bucs. I didn't see the game. I just saw like the score getting updated, and then all of a sudden Tom Brady threw a pick six, and I was like, how in the world did that happen? And was it his fault or was it the receivers? Because it's always surprising when it's his fault. So
yeah, I was watching the game with one of my best friends is a Bucs fan that lives here, but it's good because he can watch the game, not get too emotional to where he's like, you suck, I hate you, I don't want to talk to you anymore. So we can actually, whereas I am that way where I'm like, Brian, you need to actually leave. Like the Saints lost, you need to get on out of here. No, so we were watching it, and of course I was happy. He was like devastated on the inside, but he didn't let any of it out. So it was good.
Well, you know, the good thing, I want to say hi to some of you guys here. Smallville Sports Cards, great to see you as well. South Stands 303, aloha to you, sir. Mr. Dwayne 79, good to see you. Troy is always in the house. Dude, interesting thing with Hinge is the guy
the guy you're about to go on a date with?
No, the guy I'm about to go on a date with. It said most compatible. No, actually, there's a podcast producer here in LA that I'm working with on a podcast. He met his wife on Hinge 6 years ago, so it really gave me hope. But it was a funny bonding experience we had because I was telling him about my failures on Hinge, and he's like, "Don't worry, I met my wife on Hinge, and his wife is beautiful. She's a lawyer. She's a yogi. It's like checking every box." So
Brad, you're in LA. If you can't find girls in LA, then you just can't find them then, because that's it's like being in Miami. It's like,
well, this is what it's like, and I'll get Jeremy to chime in when we bring him in. It might be a while at this level, but you can date. Dating is extremely easy in LA because there's lots of people, a lot of people coming in, a lot of people going. It's always a fresh batch of whatever you want. But relationships are tough because there's always a fresh batch. There's always younger. There's always more interesting. So
always
dating
options.
is easy. So
forever options.
Yeah, forever. Ryan, good to see you. I love the new profile picture as well. Cool hat. I could never pull it off, but you pull it off real well. Brian Sherlin, here's the thing I was going to say is when Tom Brady loses, it's okay in the regular season because you know he's just going to exact revenge on that opposing quarterback and that team in the future. And it happened with the Chiefs last year. So good luck to
I was happy with the win, but we demolished the Bucs twice last year in the regular season and then lost in the playoffs. So that's all that's going to matter is when we get to the playoffs.
And I don't know, sorry, we like destroyed Jameis Winston's knee or something. Devin White like blew his knee out. So now you're down to Trevor Siemian. Is that correct?
Yeah, our third string quarterback ruined you guys.
I heard that penalties ruined the Bucs, but anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see. You got to know who Jeremy is. You'll know. And yes, I got to touch the hair. I just had a shower, so the hair is going to fall in my forehead. Carlos, good to see you. What's up, Al? Good to see you as well. And he did say hi to you, even though he didn't want to. And maybe we'll talk a bit of Packers as well. But our guest, I'm going to bring him on right now. Jeremy, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Doing great. What's going on, Brad? Dustin, good to see you guys.
You as well. You
Good to
like
see
that
you.
intro where I just said, Jeremy, here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here kind of doing my own thing. You take so long with your intro. I'm all busy. Oh, better be on alert for when you're going to bring me on. So
Yeah, I'm just going to surprise you. The second you go to like leave your chair to do one thing, that's where I intentionally bring you on just to throw it up there and make it look like you weren't ready.
I'm ready, man. Let's do this.
Cool, man. So guys, if you don't know who Jeremy is, introduce yourself, but you're like a mainstay in the hobby because you've been around a long time. You're well connected. You're well respected. You have a great station with some of the top guests. How would you introduce yourself?
I mean, yeah, I've been in the hobby a long time. I love the hobby. It's, kind of a very big part of my life. And that's how I'd introduce myself. I live in Canada. I collect all the sports, but I guess hockey is kind of, dominates my collection, probably over 50%. Then the rest would be like basketball, football, baseball. And yeah, I host Sports Cards Live Saturday nights on my channel by the same name, and do interviews with all sorts of different guests from within the hobby. I've had you both on, and that's what I do. That's me. Thanks for the opportunity.
I love that T-shirt, Jeremy. I saw a comment from Smallville Sports Cards. Yeah, that's really cool. I like
Thanks,
that.
Smallville.
That's a classic.
Yeah, I got this on Facebook. Somebody selling, I'm sure unlicensed T-shirts, and I grabbed it for like $25 shipped. And it's a good shirt to wear. Represent the hockey and the GOAT of hockey cards.
So let's start a bit with hockey, just because I know that's more of a niche sport, and that's definitely your specialty. Okay, so I've been selling. I have a couple hockey cards, very few, and there's one guy I've been selling, and it was a guy I researched in March of last year. Bought his Upper Deck Young Guns rookie cards raw, sold them, been selling them now because I got them graded and they were $12 a piece to grade. And his name is Kyle Connor. Are you familiar with him?
Of course I'm familiar with Kyle Connor.
And what's he doing this season? Because all of a sudden, it's like his cards are selling.
Been watching it at all?
No, because I don't have the time to follow all the sports, and I really just want to follow my team at the end of it.
Well, he plays for the Winnipeg Jets, which is, it's a small market, but it's got a very loyal fan base. And it's actually where I'm from originally. So it's my second team right now, my second favorite team. But he's a great player, and he's not like their number one guy. So he's got room to, do his thing and not have that pressure that a top line center does or a top scorer does. And he's really good. Like, I've got a few of his cards as well, and I hesitate to move them yet because I think he's going to have a good, strong career.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, maybe I won't sell anymore. But I've been happy with a good $120 profit per PSA 10, which is not big, but to put in like $25 per card, it's nice to be able to move them. But starting with hockey, just because I know most people want to talk basketball and cards overall. What are you seeing so far in the NHL season? I know we're only a handful of games in, but what's exciting you? What's surprising you?
Yeah, we're like 10% of the way into the season right now. So it's not that it's surprising me, but what I'm glad to see is that Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers are playing very well. Now, I'm a Calgary Flames fan, and they are our biggest rival, but the Flames are doing really well as well, my team. So the reason I say I'm glad to see Connor McDavid do well is because for the hobby, the better he does, the better the hobby does as far as hockey goes. And he's really the face of the league. He's by far the best player in the league. And up until recently, I thought that he would need to play on a better team to win a Stanley Cup. And now I believe that with the supporting cast he has, which isn't great, but there are players there, I think he actually is that dominant of a player where he can win a cup in Edmonton. And that's really what, the hobby wants him to do, and maybe even has one or two baked in already. So I'm glad to see that McDavid is doing what he should be doing and is doing. I'm happy to see my team doing real well, and just happy to see all the goals. It's already an exciting season.
Nice. I do have one question though. Like, when you look at basketball cards, how people buy and sell those and the demographic, you look at football cards and the demographic there, and you see baseball cards. Baseball cards, like, they don't really spike as much. The demographic's different. I don't think it's that hype or flipper mentality in baseball. What's the hockey card market like in comparison to the other sports? Especially, if you're an investor, if you're a collector and you just want to have good insight as to I like hockey. I want to invest, but something to look out for, something to know, especially if you're just used to basketball or football.
Well, one of the things I'll say, and this, I really believe this, we've seen so much fluctuation in the last couple of years now. And I believe that hockey and baseball have the strongest foundation of loyal collectors, like people who aren't going to leave no matter what happens. And I think there's a bit more. I think basketball and football is a bit more. You have a lot more newer people collecting those sports at the moment, and so I think they might be more prone to leave if things go south. So I think hockey is a very safe sport to collect because you know that those fans, they're not going anywhere no matter what happens. Same with baseball. Baseball cards. It's kind of just the way it is. It's an American pastime, not just the sport, but the cards themselves too. So I think you're really safe long term if you are collecting those two sports. As for demographics, I mean, I'm going to find out more in a week and a half when I go to Toronto for the Sport Card Expo, which is the second biggest show in the world behind the National, and I can't wait for it. I've been looking forward to it for 2 years or so now. So I'll see what the demographics are like. Historically at that show, though, Dustin, it's been like 80% hockey and 20% the rest of the sports. This year, I'm pretty certain it's going to be like 50% hockey and the rest basketball, soccer, baseball, football. And that's because of those sports just getting so popular lately. And a lot of people are just starting to kind of dabble in them and dabble in them more than dabbling, jumping right in actually. So while the hockey collectors are a very loyal group and they're going to continue to be, they're also willing to kind of collect outside. I heard someone recently say that hockey collectors stick to hockey, but I don't know if I don't really agree with that. I'm a hockey collector. I collect everything and I always have, and I know a lot of guys that do too. So that's kind of the thing. It's the same demographic for the most part.
Well, yeah, I was wondering if hockey fans are less likely to like other sports as much. But talk to me a bit about this show. And Dustin, feel free to do something besides just stare idly by.
Oh, you're doing a great job, Brad.
Should I just remove you now? I mean, it'd be a lot more efficient that way.
I can just take. I
don't want to.
If you want me to start asking more interesting questions.
Sorry, I had to do it. What were we going to say, though?
Jeremy, we'll talk offline. This was bad. But anyway, go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, I did want to say, what cards are you picking up? And tell me a bit more about this show. Because if it's the second biggest one compared to the National, I don't know anyone that's really going to it, or I haven't heard much about it. And I'd imagine because it's in Canada, it's different with COVID. It's not as maybe well-known or as, I guess, desirable for American collectors and investors. But tell us a bit about this show, because maybe it does make sense to go to either now or next year.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's a big show. It's if you travel across the border from the States, come to it in Canada, your dollar is going to get you a lot further than it does in the States, because you're going to get like 25% bonus on your money. So that's a good thing. I'm live on Wednesday, studio, you bet. But it's a great show, man. I mean, I've been doing it for 15 years. It's twice a year too. It's in November and May, the spring and the fall expo. You get a lot of Americans that do come up for it, pre-COVID. This year, we'll see what happens. Beckett has a huge booth at it. PSA doesn't, but Upper Deck does. Panini used to when they had a hockey license. They don't come up anymore. Topps, the same thing. But it's a card show, It's not like the National, where the National is more of a industry sort of conference, if you will. Just with, you got the conference, you got the card show kind of around all the corporate. This is more of a card show with a smaller corporate area, but you get hardcore collectors. We go out in the evenings, hang out. There's already trade nights being planned at hotels nearby, just like at the National. So, I think it's going to be different this time than ever before, and I can't wait to see what that's all about, to be honest.
Are you targeting certain cards, Jeremy? Do you have specific targets, or are you just kind of going in and just checking it out and you'll go with the flow?
Right now, Dustin, I'm in a position where I kind of have to just go with the flow. Like, there's a few cards on my want list that I really want to pick up, but I've bought so much since the National, at the National, and since then, that I'm now in selling mode. I've got my card show inventory, and I need to sell cards, and so I've got a booth there. I'm going to be set up right now. beside my buddy, and like I always am. And I'm going to be kind of sporting the Sports Cards Live banner there. I'm going to have some banners, and kind of that's the name of my booth instead of my old name. So kind of evolved that way. But yeah, I'm there to sell. I will buy. If it depends how much I sell. Like if I sell X amount, maybe I'll take 50% and go find myself a nice card or something like that. But I've been buying a lot lately to the point where I feel very satisfied with what I picked up lately, that I don't have that need for like that hobby retail therapy right now. I've kind of given myself enough of it in the last few months.
I've been zagging a little bit lately over the last couple of weeks. I actually just put a video out on it a minute ago, but I've been going after some of the presidential stuff.
Abe Lincoln rookie card, hard to top.
Yeah, well, not really a rookie card, but it is from 1911. But
wow, that's from 19. Okay, that's pretty legit. Okay,
but these are like the cigarette cards, like the cigar cards, so they are kind of in that same like T206 time frame, but obviously, not as popular yet. We'll see. But I thought that stuff was kind of interesting. I haven't gotten into that. Those are the first like presidential cards I've gotten into, but just from like a historical perspective, I thought that'd be kind of cool to nab.
So, before we hopped on, Jeremy, you were telling me that at PWCC's last auction, you picked up some cards. You want to describe some of those cards that you picked up and why you bought them, and what price you paid or what allured you to them?
Yeah, like
Can I have this? Can I share the screen?
Sure. Yeah. Because we talked. I have it set up. So I picked up 11 cards. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 11 cards. At their most recent monthly auction, and I picked them up because I like them. Like, so this is the 90, and I kind of do have the price blocked out there, but this is the 96 Metal Universe. This is the base card, Ken Griffey Jr. PSA 9, and I bought it because I have 2 Michael Jordan Metal Universe base cards graded in PSA 9s. I thought, Griffey, I collect Griffey and Jordan. That makes sense. I'll get that to go along with it. And it's just like, I love how he's wearing the sunglasses. Meanwhile, he's dancing among planets. Like, it's just a really cool card from 1996. Like, it's 25 years old already. Blows my mind. And then I picked up this one too, his 97 version to go along with it, because I got 2 Jordans and I got the 2 Griffies. I think that made sense. I can go through a Griffey insert. This is the Brilliance. This is I think it's numbered out of 100 on the back, I believe. 99, and it's just a rare insert from the 90s that I like. So I like my 90s rare inserts from basically Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, and Ken Griffey Jr. and a couple others. Here's a Shaq cut above, right? Like the Jordan for this card is so out of range right now, like to afford, that I went with Shaq, my kind of second guy, and I really wanted the cut above. I also picked up on eBay lately. I put that one up too, not that one. Oh shoot. I just closed that window, but
Jeremy,
I picked up the Jerry Rice cut above also, which is pretty awesome. But I just closed that window.
It's okay if you're nervous. This is a big deal.
I'm
off center is pretty big. So
personal finance dad, comeback card investor. Like, holy, talk about.
This is like Patrick Bet David times 5 right here.
Yeah,
this is bucket list, guys. This is a really cool card. This is the Take It To.net from 98 Flair. And it's another situation where, like, if you want the Jordan, you're paying like close to $30,000. So you pick up the Kobe for a fraction of the price. And I don't have enough Kobe, so I grabbed this card.
I love the set though, TakeIt2.net, because it also ties into what society was like and like where the world was back in 1998, where it's like almost the .com bubble and just how the internet was really exploding back then. Because I remember in 96 having a gateway computer at my parents' house and like getting obsessed with this whole internet thing. And it's so early on, but it's so funny how like it was such a big deal in society that they would tie it into a card because it was like the trend of the time.
You remember like the cow box, like the big computer box where like the gateway computers came in?
Oh yeah. And the stores were pretty cool actually. I actually went to the gateway stores where it was like a kind of a cow design, and it was very welcoming. Actually, the storefront was very welcoming. It was kind of like what I imagine Tesla today or like Apple today. It was very it wasn't like going to a Comp USA or one of those places. It was really like state of the art back then.
Yeah, we're buying vintage gateway computers. PCs.
Hey man, there might be a market. There might be a market for that.
Well,
Okay,
sadly, there will be. It'll be like $1 million sale, and we'll be sitting here like, damn it. You know, we had an opportunity and we missed it. All right, off track. Go ahead.
All right, I'll whip through these guys. I don't want to bore you with this, but so there's
that
that Kobe
cards.
Jambalaya. I bought the Shaquille O'Neal Jambalaya because the 97. This is the 2003. The 97 is much more expensive, and I just like look at that color match. Talk about a color match, right? I thought it was awesome. And then this was the big one I bought, the second year LeBron Jambalaya. Again, the first year LeBron is like 10 times the cost, so I thought, hey, I'm gonna go with the second year, and I like the picture better. Peyton Manning rookie card. This is the row 0. This is numbered out of 250, so really rare. It's way more beautiful than it looks like in this scan. And I used to have his SP rookie in a PSA 9, his SP authentic rookie. I had it in a PSA 9. I sold it in like 2017 or 2016 when I bought my house. I sold it, and I sold it to Brian Gray back in the day. And I'd sure like to be able to get that one back, but because I don't have it, I bought this one. This is my new Peyton Manning rookie and my only Peyton Manning rookie in the collection. Now I had to have a color blast. You know, I see people talking about them. I've never had one in hand, but I know that they're just really cool cards. And I thought, listen, the guy I want is Joe Montana. So luckily this one was available for sale at their monthly auction, and I snagged this to add a color blast to the collection. And then a couple of hockey cards. If anyone out there remembers collecting hockey in the early 90s, you could open up case upon case of Score and not get one of these what are called Pinnacle B cards. And so I bought this on the auction as well to go. I have the Gretzky to go along with it. And then I picked up the first year of Topps Finest Refractors, the Yager in a PSA 9, very low pop, like maybe 9 or 10 total graded. So that's what I picked up. And then as I kind of showed this before, Dale Howardchuk, he's a Hall of Famer for the Winnipeg Jets, and that's kind of like the guy I collect the most. So a beautiful card, a throwback to Exquisite, beautiful design.
Oh, yeah. Great patch.
And then the Crosby Platinum Portraits. I mean, the Michael Jordan Platinum Portraits just sold for $60K.
I was going to say,
that's from 97. This is Crosby from 2021, but I just thought it was a great card and I wanted to have it. So there you have it, everybody. That's what I've been picking up lately.
One thing, Jeremy, that you do a good job of, I feel like, is aesthetically, like the cards you pick up are like brilliant cards. Like I'll look at them and I'll be like, damn, like those are good. Like, you know, sometimes it's like an awkward picture or something. Like the stuff you pick up that you picked up, it's like all good. Like it all looks good.
So what's funny is that like that's actually a collector's mindset, because I go, I don't know that player, but that's a great looking card. Or I'm not a big fan of Joe Montana. He's a bit before my time. I respect him, but that's a great looking card. Everything was very eye appeal based, which I feel like is the way that the hobby is shifting back to, which is the way it should be, which is, hey, there's something special about the card. It looks good. It doesn't have to check the boxes in terms of, well, this is the set that everyone apparently likes, which what I felt like 2020 was about, which was, hey, Prism base, Prism silver, that's what you buy. It doesn't matter if it doesn't look that good. That is the card. And I feel like now it's going back to, that looks good. That looks good. That Ken Griffey with the shades, everything. Metal Universe was one of the best sets. Topps Finest I loved. I love the peel, the whole interaction there. And I want to ask, PWCC, there's a lot of controversy around them. I saw Ziggy with a comment about PWCC. What was your experience like with their auctions? Because I haven't done it yet, but I heard there were tons of deals to be had. But obviously, if you're a seller, that's not necessarily the best thing if everyone's buying your cards for 30, 40% less than what you would expect elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, my experience was great. I mean, I've been buying from them, I don't know, probably since 2013 or 14. And nothing's really changed as far as the buying experience. I haven't sold through them for a while, but I will again, definitely. So yeah, the experience was just fine. No problems whatsoever. To be honest, I still haven't paid for these cards. I still have to pay my bill. So who knows? They may not think it's going so well, but I still have to pay my bill.
Technically, these aren't Jeremy's cards yet.
No. They're still in the cart. They're still in the cart.
That's a card.
Yeah.
So wait.
Yeah.
So do you think you were able to get better deals now that PWCC has shifted off of eBay? Because that's the big question I would have is
Yeah,
because, and I noticed that from the other platforms as well. It's kind of like this multiple platforms. If you're dual listed on eBay, you get the best of both. If you're not, then I've noticed for myself personally, it's like cross my fingers, hoping it's the right person at the right time to buy the card at the price I'm happy with.
Yeah, so it was kind of a K curve, if you will. The big cards sold as big as ever. You know, there were records broken. Not too many deals, I would say, on the big cards. And that's not just my perception. I heard a lot of people saying that. And then I think there were deals to be had on the smaller cards. You know, that anywhere from like, you know, the $10 to probably $200 or $300. I think there were a lot of deals available in there because there were so many items. There was over 40,000 items in the auction. That's a lot, right? That's a lot for people just to scroll through and find. And so plus, you know, they don't have the eyeballs that they used to have on eBay. So they need to build that back up. But at the end of the day, I think as collectors, we will go where the cards are, and they, you know, PWCC gets great cards. They always have. And I'm sure they will continue to. So, I mean, as far as for sellers, you know, I didn't sell anything on their first auction on their own platform. And I do have cards in their vault that are kind of available to be sold. So I just want to wait until they put out their app. Once the app comes out, I think then it'll be a way better experience for bidders and buyers, right? Because we're all used to eBay on our phone. eBay's way better on your phone than it is on the computer. And I think it'll be the same for them.
I have a question for you, Jeremy. Just going back to some of the stuff that you bought, kind of that 90s inserts. I feel like that's kind of a golden era for inserts, even though I haven't bought a lot of them yet. I haven't really dug deep into it just because I'm into some other things right now. But you could see where they got really creative with a lot of those sets with different things. Some, like, there was so much variance between the different cards that you showed. Do you think that there will be the same sort of thing for inserts nowadays? You have kind of like these, like, you know, we've got Panini inserts, we've got, you know, all these different kind of things, whether it be optic or select or whatever. You know, 15, 20 years down the road, 25 years down the road, do you think that there will be kind of that nostalgic, you know, look back at this set? You know, obviously we don't know, you know, until we get there, but, you know, you kind of wonder, will the younger generations look back and be like, man, remember those Prism products from 2012 to 2020? Those were beautiful cards or whatever. Because it seems like it always does kind of cycle. You know, do you think there will be some interest outside of kind of those Kaboom and the Color Blast? You know, those are the two hot ones right now where people are like, we got to get all the Kabooms because that's like the PMG of today or whatever, you know. But do you think that there will be some, you know, appreciation for, you know, the Panini stuff or some of the other top stuff or whatever?
I do, man, especially if Fanatics doesn't find a way to carry forward the Panini Prism brand and other ones, right, that have those, or if they can't find a way to do Kabooms and Color Blasts and Downtowns and all these things. I think there will be for sure. Just look at all the people right now, myself included, who are chasing cards that were put out between 95 and 2000, right? Mm-hmm. Those are cards that are, like you said before, Dustin, they're super, the eye appeal is just so strong on them. They're so unique. And there's so much, I don't know, I just think they're so much better than the parallels coming out today. You know, the parallels are just different borders. I want a whole new design.
Lame. Yeah, it's more of a technicality.
Exactly. I'd rather see, let's show me a whole new design. And then the next year, change the design completely like they did in the past, right? You look at Jambalaya, it's the same, it's got the same look and feel, but the design's different every year that they've done them. Whereas you can't say that about today's cards, you know, even on an insert like Kaboom, they don't change that much. It's hard to tell which one is from which year, you know, same with, and Color Blast for sure. You know, they're basically the same cards in each year they come out. So I do think there will be, I think that will be the case, Dustin, especially if Fanatics doesn't carry those sets forward or those designs and because they have, there is equity in these things now. There really is. And just like the late 90s, as I said before, you know, everyone is looking for what's the next PMG. Is it the Prism Golds? Well, maybe, but the Prism Golds come out every year. The PMG,
I don't think they're that good. I mean, like, to me, it's just like, great, it's gold, but it's still a Prism card that I don't find to be very creative at all. It's not like a gold insert. Like a Prism base card that's gold isn't very. It's to me, it's more of a technicality than wow, that's a beautiful card.
It's the rarity, I think, on that one, Brad, really that gets, and gold is nice. Like it does look nice, but I hear you when you say it's not like it doesn't make you stop and like want to look at it for an hour. You know, some of these cards some of these nice inserts, I could stare at them I could just hold them and look at them for half an hour, bouncing the light off of them.
Yeah, like that. Those cards, a lot of those cards I could see is like, that is legit beautiful. A gold card, I'd say, wait, what is this numbered to type of thing? Because that could be as rare as like a silver Prism. And I'd be like, okay, makes sense, but it just happens to be way rarer. So let's apply more value to it versus that looks like the most expensive card in the entire set. Like that's the way I see it. But the cards you picked up, I was like creative, kind of draws in the inner child, but even as an adult, I could like it. It's not childish, but it's still very creative and innovative versus the stuff today.
I think it's the whole like art, you know, sports cards are our art, right? Where I'm not collecting Picassos and Van Goghs and all that. I'm collecting sports cards. And the other thing I think is important to mention, guys, is that, you know, a lot of collectors collect a player or a team or a set, including myself. Like I have certain PCs within my PC, but a lot of them I've already kind of exhausted to the point where I'm not adding many more cards to those themes, like Hall of Fame rookies. I've got most of what I want already. It's very rare for me to add another Hall of Fame rookie to my collection because I've got most of what I want. So you get to a point in your collecting where it's like if the main themes that you collect, you're almost at a point where you're kind of done them. You don't stop collecting. The collection's never done, right? Your collection's never finished, I don't think. So you look for other things. And for me, what it became was the simple thing that everybody says: collect what you like and collect what catches your eye. And that's really what it is for me now. Because at the beginning, when Dustin said, you know, you're going to that show, is there anything specific you're looking for? Not really. Like I'm looking for whatever catches my eye. If there's a card there that, you know, that catches my eye and I focus and I'm very prone to obsess on it. You know, I'm going to see it and I'm going to realize that, hey, that's a good card. If I don't buy it now, someone else is going to, so I might just have to scoop it up right then and there. Because you know, we don't have the luxury anymore of going in on the Friday and deciding what you want and buying what you want on Sunday. Cards are getting snapped up too fast nowadays to do that. So that, you know,
well, especially because you're also buying kind of the more rare inserts and stuff. Like, you know, you're buying more scarce items, like you said. Like even the regular old vintage type rookie cards are getting snapped up, let alone these types of cards you're showing. So yeah, you're right. Like if you don't get it, then it probably won't be there. That's true.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Jeremy. All right, that's the collector hat, but you also have a business mind. So I was going to ask, if you went to the same show, but you knew you needed to flip some cards. Let's say you really have a card you wanted to buy, but you knew that you needed to make some flips. Let's say the card you wanted to buy is a year out from now, but you'd like to flip some cards, or at least like invest and drop some coin on cards that you'd like to move one day and hopefully make a profit. What would change mindset wise going into the show? Would you be looking at different cards or different grades, grading companies, anything like that? Just with that mindset of, I just want to hold this for the next 6 months to year because I'd love to be able to trade up and get this much bigger card in the future.
Yes, it's a really good question, Brad. However,
I know.
However,
I know how to ask.
However, the situation, I mean, it doesn't necessarily apply to me because, like, I've got see those boxes right there. Those boxes are filled with a collection I bought with the sole intention of moving it, of having inventory for card shows, and so I've been setting up at card shows for over 15 years now. I love it. I love the action. I love making deals. I love placing a card in the right person's collection and trading and walking around shopping. I love doing it all. So I have my card show inventory. It's always moving. It's very fluid. And I just added more. I have more right now than I've ever had before, to the point where I've been very overwhelmed and stressed for the last week because it's like, how am I going to get it there? I got to fly, you know, and now I got to price it all. I got to inventory everything. Such a lot of work involved. So I've actually whittled it down. That's the stuff that's not coming with me because I don't have the capacity. But but sorry, I'm a long way to get to your question. If I was going to the show to find cards just for the purpose of flipping, you know, my horizon for that, Brad, when I go to the card show, I want to be there for as a vendor. You get in right away. I want to get in there, put my bag down, walk around, find cards that I can flip that weekend, not 6 months down the road. I want to find cards that I can flip that weekend, you know?
And so what would you be looking for? Like what's your parameters, or what's the way your mind's working? You look at a table, what are you scouring for, or where do you get this knowledge of knowing this card I believe in versus that card I don't?
I'm not looking for young guns. I'm not looking for common cards. I'm not looking for, you know, Mike Trout updates and Luca prisms and that sort of thing. I'm looking for the non-commodity cards, the rare cards, maybe under the radar, maybe cards that people, you know, don't appreciate to the extent that I do. You know, GOAT type players, you know, GOAT's, you know, overused, of course, but, you know, really good Jordans, Gretzky's, that kind of stuff. You know, maybe I run into a nice vintage Mickey Mantle. Maybe I run into a Julius Erving rookie card, or a Wilt Chamberlain, or a Bill Russell, or the Magic Bird card, and I pick up one or two of those early on. Who knows? Jordan. I mean, it's got to be, for me, if I'm buying something just to flip it, which I don't do all that often unless it's a collection. I'm basically hey Troy, I'm basically looking to buy cards that are in demand. You know, I think the real basic strategy.
Okay, so my question, my follow-up though is, look, we can chase the rarer stuff. We can look at the inserts, the underrated stuff, but what makes you feel like you could flip it for a profit if it's not like, because everything comes down to, if you flip it for a profit, that means you have to pay an amount less than what you think you can get. So if it's a rare card, I mean, that's where I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm overpaying, and maybe it's a great card, but it still goes down in value, or I paid 20% too much, and it's a great card, and maybe it's like 2 years down the road. But like, I think that's the tough thing is, are you saying, okay, this is a card I really like. The last 3 sales on eBay were for 2,500 ish, and now I'm going to offer 2,100 type of thing,
or is it more, or is it kind of like, you know, you get in early on it on Wednesday, maybe before the rest of the show arrives, you know, and you're able to negotiate a good deal on a rare Gretzky or something. And then Saturday you're at trade night. I'm just throwing this out there, I'm guessing here. Saturday you're at trade night. You run into that one collector that wants that card, and you're able to flip, I guess, or trade out of it. Is that what you mean, Jeremy? Typically when you're talking about stuff?
Yeah, like pretty much. You know, you can go in early and buy and do a nice bulk deal with somebody who's not sure what kind of show they're going to have, and they will, you know, you can go up to their table. You have $1,000 on you, and you can pick up, you know, 6 to 20 cards for $1,000. And you know, I could think to myself, okay, if in my mind I'm paying him 80 on this one, I can probably get $150 for this, because maybe I know the market better than he does, and information is very important in this hobby, right? So, you know, maybe I'll scoop it up, get a good deal. He's got 1,000 in his pocket, and you know, everybody's happy. So that kind of thing. But as for, you know, the whole, like, to me, it really comes down to time horizon. I don't buy I almost never buy cards with the intention of flipping them within 6 months, unless I'm buying a collection and I know that there's going to be a lot of work involved. There's a lot of work involved when you buy 1,500 cards, and each one of them is worth at least $20, let's say, or $50. There's work involved. But if you're just buying a single card for, say, $500, I don't buy cards for $500 with the intention to flip them within 6 months. I just really never do, unless, you know, a Gretzky rookie, for example. I'll buy a Gretzky rookie for $2,000, knowing, okay, I'm going to Toronto next week. Maybe I can sell it for $2,500, you know, and I just did. That just happened. I just bought this card here at a local card show. It's a PSA 4 Gretzky rookie, a very nice 4, actually. I just bought this for about that amount, and I expect to make at least $500 on it, because that's what I think I'm going to be able to do. I've bought and sold well over 100 Gretzky rookies in my days, and I've got a pretty good feel for them. So, but this is a card that I don't really want to sell either. I don't mind holding this for 10, 20 years. It's just that great of a card.
What do you think? Okay, so like, I love how well versed you are in the hobby, especially with hockey cards. And I've always been intimidated with the shows because it's so overwhelming that I kind of need to my, look online, be a bit more slower pace, a bit more organized, more intentional. Because I look around and it's just like it's mayhem. It's the best type of mayhem, but it's just like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed and I can go in any direction and I could blow all my money very quickly without enough research, just relying on the emotional high of being in the space. If you're going to this, it's Sports Card Expo, right? That's what it's called, sports. If you're going there for the first time, or a big card show for the first time, and let's say you're going with $2,000, and this is a lot of money to you, and you want to be able to pick up some cards you're going to feel good about when you leave. What are some tips you have to be able to do that? And I also say that because going in, especially my first few shows, I feel like everyone else knows way more than me about these cards, and it's almost a bit scary and intimidating to know that these people have done it for a long time, and I don't want to leave and just feel like, damn, I overpaid, or I bought cards that I thought were cool, but really I kind of just got caught up in it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Chris C says goats overhype right there. That's a really important comment. I believe in that. I firmly believe in that.
Thanks, Chris C.
And then I would say rarity. I would also say rarity over commodity, right? Like you can go in and buy the prism or the prism or the prism silver or the optic hollow, but these cards are very common. Even the silvers are common and the hollows are common. Now they're nice cards, and I have several in my collection too that I like them. But if you're really sort of just starting out, maybe, or you're looking to change direction, I would go in. If I had $2,000 in my pocket, I'd want to walk out with more than one card. I'm a guy that I like volume too. I'd want to have more than one card. So I'd be looking at picking up like 3 to 5 cards in that amount. And I would go for the players that I believe in the most. And I wouldn't be going for this year's rookies. Like I never buy this year's rookies. Just never. I stopped that a long, long time ago. I learned my lesson over and over again. And look at Mahomes right now. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you are in the first 2 or 3 years of your career. It doesn't matter. Year 4, year 5, things can happen really quickly, and you can be very depressed about where you put your investment money into a guy like that. Now, I'm not saying he's down forever. He'll probably bounce back and have a great career. But you have to be willing to handle the ups and downs of that. So the advice I would give is hone in on the players you like, and then go find rare cards. Find rare cards. Graded is always wonderful, but you can buy rare as well. If you're buying rare cards, you want to make sure that you look at them closely. Take a flashlight like this with you that you can just sort of, like look at the card. You always want to. People don't know how to look at a card really a lot of the time. But the way to look at a card is you want to flash the light bulb. You want to flash the flashlight down. Don't put it. I'm just trying to do it. Don't
there you
do
go.
it like this. Don't flash it at the card. Flash it down on the card so you can look for wrinkles and creases.
There we go.
You want to flash the flashlight down on the card and look at it. So what's happening is that the light's going to cast a shadow on the wrinkle or the crease. So you're going to see that wrinkle or the crease. Very important tip right there. Also, make sure you're taking one of these little loop things. You find this on eBay for $5. And you look at the card closely, right? Like look, and you got to get up close to these things. You got to do like that. That's how you look at this thing. You don't hold it here. You don't hold it here. This touches your head, and you bring the card up, and you can get a real good look at what's going on. So
you do that that's with graded cards. And I mean, look, the point of graded cards is that you shouldn't feel like you need to do that. Are you looking wrong? Are you looking for just the quality of the 8, the quality of the 9, quality of the 10? Is it also for fakes? Are you worried about that, or is that really just the higher end stuff that you might be a bit more skeptical on?
I'm not really worried about fakes and graded slabs. I mean, we know what happens, but I also will only buy slabs with the names of PSA, BGS, SGC, CSG. Those are the only slabs I will really buy. So I'm not worried about fakes and slabs. I do it because it's quite simply, this is a PSA 4, but there's a million different there's a million different conditions that a PSA 4 can be in. Right.
And actually, and Brad, because you don't buy cards that much. Jeremy actually helped me with a Johnny Unitas rookie card at the National. It was a 4. It was a PSA 4. And I had actually bought it before he had looked at it, but he looked at it with the flashlight at the show and was able to kind of tell me like, okay, the coloring looks good. This looks good. But he would also be able to see if there was certain things that weren't so great, because with vintage cards, sometimes a 6 looks better than a 4 or 5 and a 7, like there's all these different variances, like he's saying. So it's important to note that.
So, I mean, that's kind of new to me because, I don't really, I know I've heard, oh, well, but it's a good 9, it's a good whatever. And I kind of looked at it like, yeah, but the grading company, that's their job, is to make it objective. Obviously, nothing's really objective. It's just supposed to be objective. So I shouldn't have to do that. And I didn't really realize how much like a collector long-term would analyze the quality of any grade of a card. And so, I mean, are you finding it that if you want to move that Gretzky 4 or others, the person that's buying it from you is that scrutinizing that much? Or is that really just in show? Because in show, you have that ability. On eBay, you take some pictures, but you could see the centering. You might be able to see coloring differences, but it's pretty much like, it's a PSA 4. It's a legitimate card, and that's all you got to worry about.
Man, I mean, for me, it really just comes down to the fact that, like, I agree with you. If PSA says it's a 4, it's a 9. And for the most part, I believe them. It's a 4 or it's a 9. But you have to understand what constitutes a 4 or a 9. There are some very technical descriptions on their websites as to what constitutes that. You can have a 1 that is beautiful. It looks like an 8, but it's got a pinhole through it. And if you can barely see that pinhole, it's a pretty strong 1. Pretty strong 1, right? That I'd be happy to add to my collection.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I got that LeBron James PSA 2, and it was a 2004 Fleer USA. It was a second-year card, first year at the Olympics, and it was just a $25 card I got graded, and it came back a PSA 2. And I was like, how in the world is this a 2? And some people commented that there was a crease on it, and it was one of those cards where I'm looking for the flaw. I'm looking, maybe a little soft corner, but I'm like, that's a PSA 8. But the fact that it was a 2, it's like the best 2 in the world. So I'm not going to sell it for, $4 because now it's a PSA 2. But obviously, whoever, if I do move the card ever, which I haven't, I couldn't demand much. And whoever buys it will be getting a good looking card, at least from a foot away, for a very low price. So, it's interesting about that.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to come to my booth at the show, and this will be in my showcase, and someone might look at it and they're going to notice that it's got great centering edges. They're going to wonder why it's a 4 and not a 5 maybe. But what they're probably not going to do, and I'm not like, this isn't a good thing, but they're probably not going to pull out their loop and take a good look at it. They're probably just going to take the grader's word for it, which is fine in most cases. If you like the eye appeal, I mean, who cares? Why look at it? It's not like you're always going to look at it under magnification anyway. But when I'm buying a card, whether it's raw or graded, I want to know what I'm getting. I want to know why. I want to try and figure out why it's graded the way it is. Do I agree with the grade? Not do I agree with their technical assessment, but do I think that it's really nice for the grade? Because I learned a long time ago that if you can buy a card that is really nice for the grade, it's going to be worth a lot more than the average card in that grade. So that's like, I paid probably more or at least at market on this card, but I think it's worth more than the most recent PSA 4 comps, because you can look at a PSA 4 horribly off-centered. That one's not, so it's going to sell for more. It's just have to.
So, but at that same, real quick, just on that same point, but you wouldn't put it on eBay or something to sell it, knowing that you wouldn't be able to say or show people that it's a good 4. Is that correct?
I personally would not put it on eBay myself. I might, consign it to a PWCC or a Probstein because, people look at the cards on there and they at least PWCC provides some really good images. But no, I would rather sell this in person at a card show. I almost want to know who I'm selling it to. I want to be able to talk to them about the card, tell them why I think it's a great card, but I'll also tell them if I have a card that I don't think is great for the grade, I'll tell them why it's not great for the grade. Make sure you understand this is not a strong 6. This might be a weak 6. So decide if you want this, because I don't want anyone regretting when they buy a card from me and, feeling like they I just don't want anyone to have buyer's remorse when they walk away from my table. That just doesn't make me feel good. So I want to be able to have it's Brad. I love being at card shows because I love talking to people. I'm getting excited. I love talking to people, and I love finding out why they're buying the card and how they approach the hobby. And if I can kind of, like I said, I want to place this card in your collection. I want money for it. Don't get me wrong, but I want to place this in your collection. I take great pride whenever somebody buys the card. There's this one guy who's bought cards from me at the expo, and the first time he bought a card from me, he bought the card, he gave me the money, he walked away. As he's walking down the aisle away from my booth, I'm watching him. He's walking like this the whole time, just looking at the card the whole time. Loved the card. And that made me feel
And
good.
then he got hit by a bus because he wasn't looking up and he died. No,
some of the best videos too, I think, that you do, Jeremy, are where you are watching, whether it be PWCC or Golden, or kind of watching those auctions ending. And for those that are watching this too, this can be helpful if you go back. But like one in particular was you were analyzing like Gretzky rookies that were coming to the end, where, PSA 10 or PSA 9, or whatever. And you're analyzing like the oil drop, and whether the oil drop looks right or whether this bordering looks right. Because you've looked at that card like a million times. You've looked at, a bunch of different copies of it. And one thing that's really helpful is there was some that didn't make sense. If you're looking at kind of like where the auction prices were, and Jeremy would identify kind of like, well, there's some weird shading right here. If you really like zero in, PWCC does do a good job with their pictures, to where you can magnify in like a billion times and look at it. But I thought that was really helpful kind of watching, because a lot of times I'll watch some of the Golden auctions. I'm looking at, Gretzky PSA 9s. I can't tell the difference between the two of them, but when you guys are kind of analyzing it and explaining what you're seeing, that can be helpful, whether it's that Gretzky rookie or any other type of card that you're used to kind of looking at. That's really good insight, because the average person that's just getting into the hobby, or, investor walks into the hobby and is like, all right, I want to spend 6 figures on cards. They don't know the difference between these cards, and a lot of times they might overspend because there's these little things that maybe it was overgraded a little, maybe it was undergraded a little, so that those shows are very helpful. I like,
or what I've noticed too, or just the slab has some wear on it, or it's an older slab, or the label is a bit crinkled. I've bought cards where the PSA label is a bit crinkled in the card and it just doesn't look good. And now with the regrading fees and the uncertainties, all that stuff, it's a big deal. I did want to touch on something that's intriguing me more and more, and it's based off of how much the hobby has shifted, which is fractionalized ownership. And the reason why it's intriguing me is because right now the card market is way different than what it was in March, and way different than a year ago as well, where a lot of the commodity cards were moving like hotcakes, and that looked like the card to have. The Prism base, the Prism Silver, PSA 10. And I feel like a lot of that gambling flipper demographic has shifted or has left the hobby. And a lot of those cards are now doubling, tripling, quadrupling in pop count. Even some of the older cards, even Kobe Bryant Topps and Topps Chrome rookie cards, Peyton Manning, Bowman and Bowman Chrome rookie cards, that kind of stuff is really going up. And I'm starting to think, what, these are fine cards, but I don't want to buy anything that, from an investment standpoint, that is just going to grow and grow in pop and perhaps become less valuable, while I'm looking at these record-breaking sales on the top end, like the stuff that the super wealthy can buy a couple of, or when money's no object, it's, yes, I'll buy one of these, I'll buy one of those, I'll do that. So I'm getting more and more interested in buying a share of something that's extremely rare and valuable, and even paying market value or a little bit over for that certainty. So I know that you're getting more and more well versed in that space, and you're also hosting a show sponsored by Collectible. So can you just explain that show and also your knowledge around fractionalized ownership and where you see it now, especially from a long-term collector standpoint?
Sure, man. Yeah. So first thing, like, I got a few things to say about this. First thing is that about 5 or 6 years ago, I raised some money with some friends. Not a lot, like not even 5 figures, but I raised some money with some friends, and I bought 5 cards for them, and we made a deal, kind of like how I would like make a fee sort of thing, and And basically that's what I did. I did a little fractional project with 5 or 6 buddies. A couple guys put in $2,000, a couple guys put in $1,000, one guy put in $200. I think I raised $7,200, and I bought $7,200 worth of cards. And those cards are now worth like over $25,000. So they did well in that little investment I did. And they own a fraction of each of those cards. And those cards are like, I have them. They're ready to do something with them at some point in time. In any event, that was my first experience with fractional ownership. And I know that there are way bigger funds out there, like, in the tens of millions doing the same thing. So when fractional ownership became more formalized in the hobby, like over the last year and a half or so, between Rally and Collectible and Otis, I think Alt might do some fractional as well. To me, it made really good sense. It seemed like a natural evolution of where part of the hobby can go. Now, a lot of people in the hobby say, well, why would you ever buy a piece of a card? The whole point of collecting cards is to hold the cards. Well, of course it is. That's what collecting is all about. I collect cards. I want to hold them. I'm never going to go from collecting cards to fractional 100%. That just doesn't make sense to me. That said, I think the two things can coexist. I think it's a great opportunity. Not everybody out there who wants to invest in sports cards or even collect them has to have them in hand. Some people don't want them in hand because it's too much of a risk. They're too valuable, right? Like where do you store a $2 million card? Like, I don't know, maybe your safety deposit box. Then what's the difference if it's in your safety deposit box or in the vault of a fractional company, right? Or in the golden vault or the PWCC vault or whoever's vault. So to me, fractional makes a lot of sense. I think it's going to blow up. I really do. And it's not a one or the other. Like you don't have to buy it, number one. And if you collect cards, you don't have to switch over to fractional. It's not going to change how we collect. I think it's going to supplement how some people are going to allocate funds, their hobby funds. And I think there's going to be people who are purely investors who are going to pour money into it because it makes sense and they see the returns that are happening. So I think it makes sense. Also, like Josh's comment right there, I can't afford a Honus Wagner, a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle, but I can certainly afford to put a few $100 towards one and just enjoy the ride, right? Just know that I own a piece of it. That's pretty darn cool still to me. So I don't know. I think those are kind of my overall thoughts on the business model. And then, yeah, so I do work with Collectible. They actually contracted me out to host a show. It's not sponsored by them, Brad. It's their show. It's on their YouTube channel.
Just rub it in, Jeremy. We haven't gotten a thing, but that's cool.
Well, but so it's on their channel, and they hired me to host the show. They like what I do on Sports Cards Live, and they wanted me to host a show on their channel that is kind of has the same look and feel as Sports Cards Live. So it's called Collectible Live, and I do it every Sunday. And I'll do it this Sunday, but the next 2 Sundays after I won't, because I'll be traveling it to card shows. So, but we just did episode 9, I think. So it's already been going on for a few months, and they're getting the guests, and they get amazing guests. Like it's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and it's the team at Collectible, that is one heck of a group of people over there. And I like what they're doing. It makes perfect sense to me. So it was a natural sort of a partnership for me to take on.
Yeah. And I saw a comment here by Brett. The fractional companies exist to make a profit first and foremost. I would say that about any business.
Well, who doesn't, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If it's not a non-profit, then they exist to make a profit first and foremost, because that's the only way that they'll sustain. But the way that you make a profit long term is by actually offering value to enough people long term. So I don't have a problem with fractional. It's just something I don't know about. And just like anything else, if I were to buy shares of a card or sneakers, like I love those Jordan rookie year sneakers that went for like $1 million. Would I want to own 2% of that? I wouldn't mind. I would think that, like, hey, that's a lot of money for sneakers I can't ever see or touch. However, at least I put my money in something I really like and it's cool, and I should be able to move it at some point, hopefully for a profit. But again, the way that if you're looking to invest and flip cards and move cards, it's shifting a lot. And so that's why the idea of putting it into something I know is extremely desirable is a bit more it puts me at ease a bit more, even if the price tag is up there. Dustin, I know you had a deal with Otis, and you were getting familiar with them. What are your thoughts on, I mean, just on fractionalized, or is that something you're considering, or are you just kind of like, I'm good with my niche over here?
No, I mean, I own fractional shares of various things. I enjoy it. It's similar to what Jeremy had said. I mean, there's just certain items that I'm never going to own outright. I've got a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, the comic book, first edition from like '84. They're rare. They're really rare. I think there's less than 50 in a CGC 9.8. Just random things like that. I'm never going to own a copy outright. So I thought it's kind of cool. And yeah, am I putting thousands of dollars into it? No, but I like to put, $100 here, $100 there, and just kind of see what happens. But I think it kind of goes, and you had said it earlier, Jeremy, the whole sports cards have become a part of kind of that art, the art world. I mean, the art world is a $60 billion a year industry. The Van Goghs and the Picassos and all the big art stuff is huge money. And I think that what you're seeing now is you are seeing kind of an expansion of that with sports memorabilia, and people want one of a kind items. They want those, that first year Kobe jersey that's signed, that the rookie year Michael Jordan sneakers, because there's only one pair or there's a handful of pairs or whatever. And so, yeah, you're seeing, so what might seem like a lot of money, $1 million for a pair of sneakers, it's all relative to just, to that. People want scarce items, and people are looking at these like they would a one of one of whatever that is, and it's pretty cool because because it coincides with sports. And I think that's something that's kind of new is sports of all, like everyone loves sports, but that doesn't necessarily mean people are spending millions and millions of dollars on sports memorabilia. And that's something that has changed over the last couple of years.
And the one thing I want to point out too, is that I do think of like, who would be buying these cards? And I think, well, what's the economy like? All right, we're printing money, and maybe we'll see interest rates go up, and we'll see a crash. And I'm always thinking the 1%, or the people with tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, will be absolutely fine. It's usually the majority of people that feel the pain, but the people that are going to be fine at the end will be the same ones buying those super rare cards. And so that's where I'd rather put my money in something that, even if it's just a small fraction of people out there that can play with that kind of those toys, that level of stuff, I'd feel good about that, because they've already built generational wealth, and they'll still be able to trade and buy and sell among themselves. So
for me, fractionals too, it's all about the initial valuation, because if you're buying in really high on that valuation, you have to make, it's like we all have to decide, like, are we happy with that valuation? Because you're buying in at that initial valuation plus the fees and everything that go along with it. So to me, that's kind of the game with fractionals is really kind of identifying, like, was that purchased at a good price? Do I feel like that's a price that could grow? Or do I feel like maybe it's overpriced, and that's where you have to make calls on it.
Yeah. And real quick, I do want to ask this question about the health of the hobby and what you see going into 2022, because I know you talk to a lot of people. But to Dustin's point, the reason why I've been hesitant to pull the trigger on these higher end cards that keep breaking records is because it's hard to feel good about something when you pay the highest price ever, knowing that you need to sell it at the highest price ever, or that fraction needs to be higher, you know what I mean? So,
well, let me address that comment, Brad, because I have done that. I have paid a record amount for a card before, a couple of times, and it's worked out for me each time. The first time I did was 2006 or 2008. I forget what year it was. I bought a 51 Bowman Mickey Mantle rookie card, and I bought it very, very impulsively. And then after I bought it, then I went and checked comps and realized I paid about 20% more than the most recent comp, or than any comp. And I was like, what did I do? Oh no. Put the card away. 5 years went by. I looked at it again, doubled in value from what I paid for it. Now, another 15 or whatever years have gone by, and now it's worth 10 times what I paid. So there's one example where, sometimes you have to pay the most ever to buy a card if it's a rare card. I then bought another card at the beginning of 2020 where I paid more than than any comp on record. That card is now worth 5 times what I paid for it. So, and I know everybody's got these stories when you bought a card pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Obviously, right? But let me just say one thing though. It all comes down to horizon. It comes down to how far out are you going? If you now you don't want to be you never want to be the guy who pays the most for a commodity card. You never want to pay the most for, a very common card.
Or like, what if it's like Zion Williamson? It's a 1 of 1, but what about him? Even though it's a rare card, would you still feel good about an active player, or are you just saying like these are legends?
I bought my 2 cards were Mickey Mantle and Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I'm never going to pay the most for Mahomes. I'm never going to pay the most for Tyler Hero. I'm never going to pay the most for a Juan Soto. That's craziness, in my opinion. That's craziness. If you're paying the most for a Luka, you're paying the most for a Jaw, or any of these guys who are in the first 5 years of their career, you are taking a monstrous risk. I would never recommend that. I would never do it myself. And I can tell you, I've been in the hobby I bought my first big card in 1988 or 89 when I was a teenager. I paid $800 for a 1958 Bobby Hull rookie card ungraded. $800 in your late teens in 1988 was a lot of money for a card. And I haven't stopped since then. So I've been doing this pretty seriously for like 35 or so years. And I can say with confidence that I will overspend. I will pay more for some cards, but I will never, ever, ever. I've seen way too many rookies Alexi Lafreniere in last year's Young Guns for hockey. People are like, we're paying $300-400 before he even played a game. And then he plays a season, doesn't score many goals. People are like, oh, he's a bust. It's too early to tell, first of all. So it can go both ways. Some rookies aren't going to blossom or peak until 4, 5, 6 years out. And some guys are going to come out really hot, and you're not going to hear much from them again. And if you have experience in the hobby, or even just experience following the sports, and you can remember that far back, you'll know how many players have been super, super hot. Look at Tom Brady. He was not even close to a top 10 guy in his rookie class. Now, where does he lie? Meanwhile, what happened to Drew Bledsoe? No one cares about Drew Bledsoe cards anymore. No one cares about Ryan Leaf cards anymore. Nobody cares about Todd Van Poppels. The list goes on and on and on.
And these players, the Johnny Manziels, the Greg Odens, the certain players that if this was their rookie year, we would be having their names in the discussion versus a lot of these first and second overall picks. I'm still buying Greg Oden.
He's coming back. He's coming back.
He's going to be an assistant coach. I think that's his future. But thanks for clarifying that too, because there is that whole like, well, this is super rare and it's a RPA of Zion Williamson or whatever, and maybe he does turn out to be a huge star. It's just playing against the odds. It's just really saying like odds are against it, and to pay absurdly high prices for, even though a rare card, a very unproven player, that's where it gets risky. So I know it's been over an hour now. I want to ask you real quick before we head out, and Dustin, also, if you have any final questions, just on your take of the hobby as a whole right now, especially with your perspective of being in for so long and going through this whole whirlwind, which has been the last year and a half, 2 years, and what you're seeing closing out the year and into 2022.
I mean, I love it, man. It's the best it's ever been. The hobby right now is better than it's ever been. I mean, there's something to be said for sitting on your floor and sorting base cards from the 80s into binder sheets, right? Those are great memories. But right now, the hobby's as good as it's ever been. Someone made a comment earlier about like moving parts. All these new moving parts. It's all based on confidence. People are investing money into the hobby. The infrastructure is being built out. I think we're really going to see a lot more structure in the future, and I think it's just going to grow because it's awesome. Like, let's face it, the hobby's awesome, and not enough people know about it yet. And when they do, they're going to realize how awesome these cards are, and how when you look at them, they make you feel good. Like I don't know. I love it, man. So to me, it's great. But I have a lot of confidence in the future of the hobby right now. I've always had a lot of confidence in the future of the hobby. That's why I've never been a seller. Like I say that, yet I've been setting up a card shows for 15 years. But when I say that, there's a distinction. My card show stuff here, my collection here, two different holdings that I have. So I've never been a seller of personal collection items, but and I don't think I ever will be until, you know, if I'm lucky enough to live into my, say, 90s, and I know that, you know, okay, I've got maybe 10 years left, I'm gonna buy an RV and I'm gonna travel around to card show and spend my twilight years selling off what I've spent my lifetime building up. That's kind of the dream for me. But I'm very bullish on the future of the hobby. I always have been. It's never disappointed me. It has its ups and downs, of course, but if you have your horizon out 5 to 10 years instead of 5 to 10 months, you're going to make better decisions. You're going to reap the rewards. You just will, especially if you're buying smart.
Is there any like trend or something that you really think is going to come about in 2022? Like something that you feel like I could see it going this direction, or all the voices I'm hearing, all the people I'm talking to, it sounds like we can look forward to this next year. Something. I
mean, I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but the biggest thing I'm noticing right now that I think is going to continue is that the hobby, being like the participants, the collectors and the investors, I think have gotten a lot smarter in the last year and a half, you know, and I think that's going to continue because people are taking it seriously. People that came in with dollar signs in their eyes 2 years ago, a year ago, and please welcome, you're welcome into the hobby, every single one of you. Right. But I think people who came in, there's a portion of them who are really falling in love with it and are becoming collectors as well as investors. And they're also realizing that you can't invest in something that is commoditized, like a Luca Prism base card. That is not an investment. Let me rephrase. There are better investments out there than that. Right. So I think that the hobby, a lot of people, including veterans, are becoming smarter, and that they're going away from the commodity card. That's the trend, Brad. They're going away from commodity cards and into rare and beautiful cards, whether they're inserts or parallels or case hits or Easter eggs or any of these things that are tougher to find. I think that's where people are going. And I think people are becoming pickier, and people are also learning to collect what they like and not what everybody else likes. And I think that's a good thing, because it's going to keep them in the hobby for longer. And then from what they like, they will find other things just out of natural curiosity and being exposed to things, and will broaden their PCs from just being, I only collect Allen Iverson, to now I collect Allen Iverson, I collect Mike Trout, and I collect Sidney Crosby. You know, maybe I collect Patrick Mahomes, whatever it is. People are going to start to branch out, I think.
Awesome. Dustin, you have any final questions, since you really didn't participate at all?
It's sad. Sadly, I asked all the good questions in an hour and 12 minutes. Jeremy's going to remember what I asked him, and not anything that you asked him.
Jeremy complimented me on my good question.
Yeah.
Complimented me on my good
He was
question.
just being polite. So on the website, I just want
to get invited back again, guys.
Yeah. I see your strategy. You're a smart guy. You're a businessman, Jeremy.
I think I saw you on the Mint Collective website for the show at the end of January. Is that right, Jeremy? Because Brad and I were talking about going to that show, because that's in Vegas. It's only about 3 hours from Brad. It's about 500 hours for me coming from the East Coast, but I think that would be a cool show to go to. So I think that I just want to confirm that you're going to be there, because I want to meet up. Yeah, man. I'm a curating partner of the show. I'm going to be doing some stuff leading up to it with them and for Collectible, because the Mint Collective is being produced by Collectible and IMG, and they've got Dana White speaking. They're really bringing the hobby. Yeah, look at that, Josh Luber, Dana White. They're really bringing the hobby together for a bit of an idea sharing event with the card. There's going to be a card show. There's going to be some, I think some conference type of, or some sort of panel discussion.
There he is.
Oh, there I am. Look at that. Yeah. So
how much of that show is going to be kind of like the industry summit? Is it going to be very similar to the industry summit, or do you think it's going to be more of a card show, less business, or more business, less card show?
I think it's going to be more thought leadership. So the industry summit to me is about the infrastructure of the hobby flexing what they offer, which is great. Like here's what Ultra Pro does, here's what Panini's doing, here's what Leaf is doing, and then there's some discussion as well. But it's mostly there's a lot like it's like, you know, Ultra Pro has a booth and they're showing what they're coming. It's for card shop owners to go to. And keep in mind, the industry summit wasn't meant for the public until this year. It was meant for people with card shops, people with businesses in the hobby. They only opened up to breakers recently. So, you know,
and yeah, it was very B2B. It was very B2B. Yeah.
Right. Whereas the Mint Collective, I believe, is going to be more of an idea sharing event to help build out the hobby into the future with a card show, with keynote speakers, with some like thought leadership type of panels. And but you know, I'm going to be there the whole time. I'm going to be there sort of like representing myself and Sports Cards Live, but also representing collectible to a degree as well.
And I mean, Dustin's real question was, hey, can you hook me up with a free ticket? And since he didn't ask it, I'll ask it. Can you hook me up with a free
I think the tickets are like $9, Brad. So
I don't care.
Figure
that's a
it's
Chipotle
just the
burrito.
It's the principle.
Half of the guac paid right there.
I'll see what I can do, guys. I'll see if I can pull any strings. No promises though.
Just open the back security door when I give you
it's going to be like we're going to like be on the stage with Josh Luber. Like, no. Jeremy said we're on the main stage with Josh speaking. That's what Jeremy told us.
Go with it. Let's see how you do with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Let me know how it works out. Jeremy, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all that wisdom from the grading, or so looking at the graded cards with a flashlight, and just where you see the hobby going as well. But you're always welcome to come back on. You always offer so much value to all of us. So just wanted to thank you.
So I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, right. So Dustin, you're in trouble. You're on the hot seat.
Yeah.
You know, this actually was Jeremy's
I was going to say the same to you. So yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So Offsetter's just been rebranded to, on my station, it's me and Jeremy, and on your station, it's just Dustin and Jeremy.
It just turns into competing live streams every Wednesday night.
Jeremy's way better when he's on with me than when he's on with you. It's just going to be like that. But guys, make sure to check out Jeremy's station, Sports Cards Live. And what's the name of the collectible show, or what's the link or best way to find that?
It's on YouTube. It's the show is called Collectible Live, and their YouTube channel is it's basically like youtube.com/collectible app, because someone else I guess had collectible. It's collectible with an A, like ABLE on the end. So but if you just search Collectible Live and my name, you'll find it because my name's in the title.
There you go.
Recentered. I like recentered at the bottom.
There it is. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Dustin, thanks for coming on as well. I appreciate you. Guys, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.